pleasure to invite Dr. Saswati Gangopadhyay, Professor of Mass Communication, the University of Burdwan, West Bengal, to share her insights. Professor Gangopadhyay holds extensive academic and research experience. Her expertise spans television studies, women and media, and digital media. And she is recognized for her scholarly contribution and commitment to advancing contemporary media education. Ma'am, please.
Good afternoon. It's my honor and pleasure to be here amongst all these august gathering with very senior academicians, Professor Nagraj, my teacher, Dr. Sneha Shishur, and many other professors from across India who are here, luminaries of our academic scene. On the dais, we have Professor Dharurkar, a very senior academician. So it is indeed my honor and pleasure to be here. I would like to thank the NMC of inviting me, specifically Professor Upendra Padi for inviting me here. I'll be talking primarily since the area here is data privacy in a digital domain, that is our theme. And I'd just like to speak about this issue because there are certain issues and we do have concerns, our concerns we have. So we all know digital media is a new and emerging area. First slide, please. And both in academic research and discourse along with the industry. And to be very honest with you, if you look at I'm not going to exactly read out from here. What I have just, jotted certain things that have come to my mind and also have taken help from some papers also. What I feel is that in these present times, we have a large number of the population who are connected online through the use of digital mediums. And if we look at the development of new information technology, if we look at the second part of it, thus enhancing freedom of expression and democratic participation. Now, this is the area which concerns me the most, because are we having freedom of expression and is there a democratic participation? See, it is definitely a platform for all of us, digital platform, and people who are netizens, that is citizens of the net, they think that yes, we have freedom of expression. Do we really have? Now, when we talk about digitalization, we are actually talking about what? Interactivity, hypertext, convergence, networks, which I'm sure all of us know, and the students primarily are aware of it also. And when we talk about digitalization, we are actually looking at how this new model, a new interaction model, that is a convergence has happened, and now we have people who are linked, people, companies, and in most cases, state players. They come together, and what kind of information? From business, academics to recreational, so all kinds of information. And when we talk about these technological advancements, the use of social media and other online avenues have allowed high connectivity and productivity. So when we talk about productivity here, this is another very interesting aspect. And what is that? When we are using social media, all of us use social media. I'm sure in this hall, there might be just one or two exceptions who may not be on the social network, but most of us are. And what do? We develop content. Content is developed by the user. So we are both consumers of information and we are also developers of information. So we are producers and consumers. And now a new term has been coined, which is prosumers. Social media users are prosumers. So here, in this case, when we are developing content and using content, ensuring data privacy in this digital age is very important. So this is where, I would say, concerns and issues both begin. Now, when we are looking at this word, we should go to the next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, I'm talking about this thing called electronic surveillance. So what has happened? Due to technological developments, we are also having electronic surveillance, which is, we are under watch. And we can be under watch, we means anyone can be under watch, with this both business and state entities are watching us. Simple thing like location update, geotag. I mean, when I just came into Odisha, immediately all my phones started pinging, welcome to Odisha. So I knew that even if I don't keep my location update on, even then I am still, all of us are still under this kind of electronic surveillance. I'm not saying it is a good thing or a bad thing, but yes, we are under watch. And this kind of communication surveillance poses a threat. I mean, why? Because we have certain people. I mean, when our individual rights and liberties may be, we might have our personal information will be leaked to some extent, and when we are talking about processing of personal information, if we look at social networks have given us scope for updating personal information. And if we look at our social network accounts, many of us, when we have to open an account for the first time, I'm sure all of us have to do it, we have to give certain personal information, gender, date of birth. That is mandatory. Your email ID, there are certain things which are mandatory which we'll have to give. And sometimes there are optional ones which many of us also provide. And a very interesting thing we do, they give a long legal thing, and a tab comes, I agree or I accept. Because if you don't click that tab that I accept or I agree, they will not allow us to go further. So it is, and most of us, I think only, legal experts with digital know-how are the only people who can really understand the nuances of those pages and pages of agreement that most of us sign without even understanding. So we are under digital watch, and most of us are doing it very willingly because we have accepted. Whenever I, you, or all of us, we join, forget about social networks, even for our electronic mails, we have to give our consent. So there we are allowing ourselves, willingly in some cases and unwillingly in some cases, to be under this surveillance. When I am not going to use the word surveillance all the time because it does have a negative connotation, but yes, I will use, we are continuously under watch. And this digital watch can put at risk such people who fight for, human rights and civil liberties. And I think I have quoted from United Nations Human Rights Council that human rights defenders, whistleblowers, and investigative journalists, all of which are important elements of free and democratic society, are also under threat. So, here we are talking about the digital media is giving scope for democratic participation, and on the flip side, digital watch is putting at risk such people who are fighting for human rights and civil liberties. Now, next slide, please. Now, here I'm talking specifically about business. This has been a long issue. It's a well-known fact that business uses these kind of variety of online techniques to collect data from consumers. It is not it is not a new thing. And digital technologies have accelerated this process of gathering and storing and analyzing of this personal data. Earlier it would have taken months. Now it is just taking maybe a maximum a few minutes. So obviously there need to be some inquiries. What are they doing? What is this data being used for? Or what is going to be done with that data? But of course, in most cases, business are not transparent about their role. And as profit motive is primarily transgressing and moving into private domain of individuals, which is a very unhealthy practice, but it is happening. Next slide, please. Now, what are the reasons of surveillance? I mean, generally, of course, if you look at identities, they need to know, business primarily needs to know various attributes of persons who are using the social networks or the digital media. And these attributes, these identities and attributes serve as exclusive markers for persons. And, it may be their identifier using the electronic mail correspondence details and sometimes even our social security identification. I mean, sometimes we put we upload our Aadhaar, PAN, Epic, all these things, we keep them in different places online. We don't know how safe those digital platforms are, but we are doing it. So yes, many people are actually compromising, their social security identifications. Of course, behaviors, very important for the business. Why? They need to understand the pattern of actions which any individual who is online are doing it, whether it is through social or economic content, which includes their surfing history or more importantly, their buying history. And of course, next one is inferencing. Inferencing means sort of inferences are the attributions, ascribing, caused by, they are trying to understand, sometimes profiling individuals and gathering and analyzing information of the persons who are online. So, and they are also able to deduce who they are, what they are doing, and what they want to do, which is very interesting. And of course, transaction. Now, these are not just a financial transaction, even our social transactions. Business needs to know what our social transactions are, which they can use for, again, business purpose. If I am interacting with my relatives and friends, so during we do get pop-ups when we are chatting with our friends and all. We do get pop-ups of ads, for friends you get on Friendship Day. These are very, very small, and I'm not saying these are harmless things. Or for relative, you might get some pop-ups to buy something for them. Of course, at the end of the day, it's pure business, which I already spoke about, profit versus privacy. So obviously, they are more interested in selling you a product or a service. So yes, they are doing it. So transactions are a very important point. And then access and observability. Now, this is something which has come up in recent times, and it is happening for many, many people. Access and observability pertains to the ability of individuals. Now, from the negative side, I'm saying, individuals who can access and observe the identities. I mean, you might have an online friend, which many people have on social networks, who might be an online friend or might be a hacker or might be, someone with criminal antecedents. So these people are getting a lot of indoctrination have been done online for, terrorist activities, which we are all aware of. So access and observability is something which is a reality. Simple things. We have a person from the corporate sector. He will be able to tell this better than I do. Employees of corporate houses have to keep their social media and online behavior in such a way so that, their own employers, current employers and prospective employers can check their social media. And that is something which happens very clearly. And so we know many people from the corporate are very clear about what they put online and what they don't, because it is under surveillance, particularly from the corporates. And simply, if you look at the United States Department checks social media profiles of anyone who is going to apply for US visa. So this is being done totally openly. So yes, these are the issues which are there. Now, next slide, please. Now, when we talk about what are the challenges, when we are looking at data collection and profiling, now this is a major challenge in data privacy issue, that in the digital age there is an extensive data collection and profiling carried out by companies and organizations. I mean, when we are, if I like to watch a certain reel, if I like to watch, anybody likes to watch a certain type of item on any social network, you will get more and more of such things. How do you get it? Of course, we all know it's algorithms which are doing it. But primarily, we are under watch. So, when web searches to social media likes is being used to build profiles of individuals, and this can be used for simple targeted advertising, which I have already spoken about, and malicious purposes, which I spoke about when, indoctrination of people into terrorist activities, which is happening all across the world. And of course, data breaches and cyber attacks. Now this, of course, I spoke about things like I keep my Aadhaar, PAN, and all other documents online. And what is the guarantee in a DigiLocker? I understand, but I cannot be 100% sure. Even I'm sure the government also cannot be 100% sure that they are totally safe from, malicious attacks, that is hacking, cyber attacks and data breaches. So hackers can get unauthorized access to databases, and which we might think are very impregnable. So biometric, we are supposed to have biometric lock and all that, but that also can get compromised. Then another very important part is lack of transparency. Many organizations and institutions are not very transparent about how they collect data, why they collect data, and of course the user terms and conditions are given in such a way which is not fully understandable by average people like us. I said earlier, it may be legal experts with, digital media background or, digital training. Only those people will be really able to understand these terms and conditions. So these are some of the challenges in data privacy. Next slide, please. Now, what are the solutions? Of course, I'm sure most of us know. So, of course, number one is user education, which is, empowering users with knowledge is crucial. What we should do and what we should not do, do's and don'ts online, which some of us do it, just like media literacy. Digital media literacy is also something which needs to be taught, I personally feel, not just, in colleges and universities, but primarily at the school levels, so that, because most of the students who are teenagers start using social networks, and they are the most vulnerable to, attacks of this kind, where, their privacy is compromised. Then there is privacy by design, which of course some organizations adopt this approach when they're developing a product or a service or a software, and this means they're considering data privacy from the very onset, and they are using robust systems. Like WhatsApp tells us that their chat is end-to-end encrypted. I hope it is. So they are doing it, privacy by design, but let's hope it's really happening. Then data minimization. How much data should an organization or even a government collect? How much of the data is really needed and how much are just superfluous? And they are, that is something which has to be addressed. So these are certain solutions so that this use of big data things, it really need not be done, because many of the data that is available to these corporates or big organizations are actually 50% may not be of any use. So data minimization is one area which could be a solution for data privacy. And data encryption, again, I spoke about WhatsApp, scrambling of readable data. When we are encrypting, we are scrambling readable data into unreadable format. And that many, service providers are doing, which we hope are actually useful. And then, of course, user consent. Now, when we say user consent, we need to have very transparent and informed user consent. That is very essential, because what happens is that companies make it clear that they are collecting data, but how they are using it, how much of data they are using it, we don't know. And at the very beginning, I had said that if I want to join any digital platform, I have to agree. At the very beginning, I have to agree. Otherwise, they won't allow me to, even accept me as a member in that, either a community or even for Google, Gmail, everything. We have to agree to their terms and conditions, which we don't understand as laymen. So user consent is another area which is a solution, let us hope. I mean, I'm talking from an academic point of view, because industry and academia, there are, I would say, pointed differences of opinion are there. And very important, this is where the third, from bipartite, it becomes tripartite, because the regulatory compliance, where state players come in, because we have to understand organizations should comply to digital privacy regulations. And it's not just for corporates and individuals like us, but also for the state players. So to some extent, the states should understand across the world. When I'm talking about states, it's not just India, because we are fortunately and unfortunately digitally connected worldwide. Wherever there is digital connectivity, we can be connected to each other. So state regulators across the world also should maybe use a platform, common platforms like United Nations, or we do have some organizations, international digital organizations, where they can come together and formulate some regulations, which it is being done, but more needs to be done. So ideally, next slide, please, the way forward is digital networks should not be used solely for business purposes and service providers, but also for widespread consumer awareness, education, for the increased online skill. Because why am I saying this? That it's like a corporate social responsibility they can do, because in the long run it will benefit corporates with more digital literate users, is going to be of benefit to the corporates who are doing data mining. So that is what I feel. Again, I may be wrong. There is an expert from the industry. They would be able to tell this better. So state players, rules and standardizations. We need strong encryption, and states, along with telecommunication providers, should come up with something. State rules and standard for the corporates and service providers has to be mandated. I think that is very important. Next slide, please. This, because at the end of the day, neutral, and I have already discussed this, the neutral and universal nature of the internet must be protected by all. So this is primarily the thing that I wished to speak about. I just take 2 more minutes. Please go to the next slide. Now, since we are in media, and there are media experts also sitting here, so when we talk about media, how media has changed and transformed because of digitization, we are aware of it. I'm not going to read out the Cohen's citation, but yes, it is undeniable that digital journalism has transformed the way news is reported, disseminated, and consumed. However, it has also led to the eroding of media gatekeeping function to a very great extent. And of course, profitable news is given predominance over news which are socially responsible. But, unfortunate but true. Whatever I'm talking about is from the moral standpoint. So these are pertinent ideas. Next slide, please. These are pertinent ideas, but we don't have a clear-cut answer. Yes. So this tension between public's right to know and the individual's right to privacy is a very, critical and problematic area, and a very, I would say, ethical challenge for digital journalists. And in many cases, they don't care. But in the long run, if a digital journalist has to sustain himself or herself, I am sure they have to, come up with some sort of a balance between the public's right to know and the individual's right to privacy. And of course, since AI is the next big thing, so without AI, we cannot, conclude anything here. So yes, this machine learning, AI has taken over the newsroom, particularly in a big way. And it is a very, I would say, dangerous trend for journalists, that is, human beings like us. Earlier, across the world, we had many copywriters in the newsroom who used to write copies. Now they are being replaced by AI. And of course, we are also doing it in our own little ways with ChatGPT and all other AI tools that are being provided. And, more and more artificial intelligence is being used, and less of human intelligence is being used across the world. It's not just in journalism and mass media. So, at the end, I would like to say that even then, when digital journalism is evolving, but we have to understand the last sentence, that is, understanding the ethical implications of emerging technology is very important, and we have to balance. At some point of time, we have to keep a balance between privacy and profit. Okay, next slide, please. These are the references that I have used, and thank you so much for your patience.